You're all set.
Thank you. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the DNA Subcommittee of the New York State Forensic Science Commission. Today is August 6, 2021. We're back in person meetings. However, some of our members are going to be participating via video conferencing this morning. As you can see, I am. Before we get started, I'd like to thank Becky Vermislik from the Office of Forensic Services for her support to the subcommittee. This will be her last meeting with us. So that's sad for us. She's been a valuable member of the team, and she certainly made our logistics flow very smoothly. So we wish her the very best in the future endeavors, and it's going to be tough shoes to fill. So thank you, Jack.
No, thank you.
So just to help conduct our business, we'll use a roll call again. So at this time, I'll ask each member to state their name and reply present as we take attendance to establish a quorum. So I'm Bruce Weir, and I am here. Dr. Bieber.
Frederick Bieber here.
Thank you. Dr. Kidd.
Ken Kidd here.
Thank you. Dr. Souza.
Amanda Souza here.
Thank you. Dr. Eastman.
Allison Eastman here.
Thank you. And Dr. Gettings.
Catherine Gettings here.
Very good. So it looks like all our members are present. So I think we have established a quorum. So thank you all and welcome. So let's move on to approve the agenda. You've all received the draft agenda of this meeting. Is there any discussion regarding the agenda? I'm hearing none. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for this meeting? A motion from
I make a motion to approve Amanda Souza.
Thank you, Dr. Souza. And do I have a second?
I second it, Allison Eastman.
Thank you. So further discussion? So thank you. We have a motion to approve the agenda, so I'll call upon you to vote. At that time, I'll call your name, please. Record your vote as aye or not. So Bruce Weir, my vote is aye. Dr. Bieber.
Frederick Bieber, aye.
Thank you. Dr. Eastman.
Allison Eastman, aye.
Thank you. Dr. Kidd.
Ken Kidd, aye.
Thank you. Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith.
I don't think I can vote on this, even though I'm attending because of. So I abstain, I guess.
We're voting to approve the agenda. Is that your understanding?
Yes, I think the issue is my location. So
Okay.
I am attending, but I have to abstain from votes, I believe.
All right, thank you. Dr. Souza.
Aye. Dr.
Thank you.
Souza, aye.
Thank you. And Dr. Gettings.
Catherine Gettings, aye.
So thank you. So the motion to approve the agenda carries, so we can proceed. So you've all received the draft minutes from our last virtual meeting, May 7th, 2021, and the following June 16th, 2021, also virtual special meeting. Is there any discussion regarding the minutes of those two meetings? Right, I don't hear any discussion. You've all had those two sets of minutes. So do I have a motion to approve those two sets of minutes? Someone.
So moved, Catherine Gettings.
Thank you, Dr. Gettings. And a second, please. Dr. Kidd, did you
Amanda
want to say?
Souza, second.
Okay. So further discussion. Motion has been moved and seconded. You've got the minutes, and I'll call upon your vote to approve those two sets of minutes, May 7th, 2021 and June 16th, 2021. Dr. Bieber.
Fred
Oh,
Bieber,
I should
aye.
say, yeah, thank you. And I should, my vote is also aye. Thank you, Dr. Bieber. Dr. Eastman.
I, for June 16th, I have to abstain for May 7th. I wasn't present.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Dr. Kidd.
Ken Kidd, I have to abstain from the June meeting, but I approve the minutes of the previous meeting, the May meeting.
Thank you. Dr. Smith. I'm not sure what you're going to be doing.
I have to abstain, thank you.
And Dr. Souza.
Amanda Tozer, aye.
But for both, I take it. Thank you. And
Yeah.
thank you, Dr. Gittins.
Catherine Gettings, aye for both.
Thank you. So that, someone be keeping a tally, do we have sufficient votes in the affirmative for, particularly the June meeting? Like 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that sufficient? Dr. Gittins?
Natasha, do we need 5? We need a quorum.
For 4, you're good with 4. Do you have 4 for
Yes.
each?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So the motion's carried. The motion. Thank you. So we'll move into our business. We have some accreditation and laboratory updates. First of all, from the Erie County Central Police Services Forensic Laboratory. We have a letter continuing concerning the A and AB continuation of accreditation and a surveillance activity report. So no vote is required, but the A and AB conducted a surveillance survey in April 2021 of the Erie County lab. There were no findings, and the laboratory remains in compliance with their accreditation standards. The next activity will be a reassessment in April 2022. Any comments on the Erie County situation? Thank you. I don't think we need any. We don't need any report from the lab. So thank you. So moving on then to Monroe County Crime Lab, we have a letter dated May 21 regarding the continuation of their accreditation with an attached certificate and scope and a surveillance activity report received in April also. The A&AB conducted a surveillance activity of the Monroe County Crime Lab in April 2021. There were no findings, and the laboratory remains in compliance with their accreditation standards. The next activity will be a reassessment in April 2022. Any comments on Monroe County? Thank you, and I don't believe we'll need to hear from the lab. Thank you. Moving on, the New York State Police Crime Laboratory, letter dated May 28th regarding a change in top management. And so on May 27th, 2021, Acting Major Brian Colwell replaced Major Nicholas Banbury as Assistant Laboratory Director. QAS documents have been sent to you regarding the casework and data bank submitted in July 12th of this year to the committee. So any comments on the New York State Police change in leadership and the QAS documents?
I have a couple of questions concerning the casework. Oh, this is Allison Eastman, concerning the casework and the data bank QAS audits.
Go ahead.
Is anybody available?
This is Russ Getty. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. New York State Police Technical Leader, casework.
Trying to find a spot because for some reason when I downloaded all this stuff to my computer from my other computer, all my yellow highlights disappeared. I think it's number 8.9, if I got it right. I think this one is supposed to be yes. I guess I would have to open up the QAS guidance, but I think this is the one that for any procedures that you have, that you're currently doing, you have to have the validation studies, the internal validation studies that you were used to be able to bring these online have to be available. So I think this is supposed to be yes. I believe it was marked yes also in the databasing lab. So I just recommend you take a peek at the guidance document and see how they interpret this one. So that was just one thing. And then want to go, I think in the casework there was a finding concerning the schedule of a proficiency test, which is not a big deal. What It's just in appendix A. There's a comment, the required interval between calendar years is not stated. Do you really believe that you can go less than 4 months between calendar years because they don't specifically state within and between calendar years?
No, the issue here, we had things scheduled correctly. However, there was one analyst that was going out on medical leave. So we have, of course, a lot of people, so we have different groups. We moved this person up in the schedule so that they wouldn't go out of, being certified by a PT when they returned. And we just inadvertently didn't realize that she had done one in November. So then we only had 2 months. And then I did call the FBI, and they initially said that they thought this was okay because the guidance document, I guess, didn't really talked about within the calendar year, not between calendar years. But, again, we didn't try to schedule it that way. It was just one of those circumstances. So later they came back and said, no, it should be, as you stated.
Yeah.
So, yes, you're correct, but we did not intentionally do that.
Right. I can understand what happened. I was just curious because, I don't know, the statement just kind of stood out to me.
Yeah, and
that was it.
8.9, I'll go back and check that for you.
Yeah, I think it's 8.9. All my highlighting disappeared, but I do know there's a standard that requires you to maintain available validation studies for any of the procedures that you're currently using.
Right. I'll double check that for you. But you're correct. 8.9 does deal with that.
Okay. Yeah. So that one should be a yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Now, and then I have a question on the databasing document. Are you taking those questions?
Tom Leach should be on.
Tom there? You have to call him?
I saw Tom. Oh, there we go. Hang on 1 second. He should be unmuted now.
Good morning. This is Tom Leach, the Associate Director of Biological Sciences at the DNA Databank.
Morning, Tom.
Tom, this is Allison Eastman.
Good morning.
I had some questions also in Standard 8.
Sure.
I'm curious. It looks like you did some kind of a software tweaking or something based on your answers?
Software evaluations?
Not a validation, but you say yes, like in, is new software or new modules of existing software modifications to software evaluated to assess suitability of software for, you have yes.
Yeah.
Did you do some software validations or?
Well, what we had done is we had some software evaluations. So based on the new standards, we need to evaluate software or modifications to software. And one of the things that took place over the course of this past year was we needed to upgrade to Windows 10. And as part of that, that did impact our work with GeneMapper ID. Both the client software and the server software from a Windows system standpoint. And then we also did some upgraded our BSD software, which is our puncher instrument. We upgraded that software to be compatible with Windows 10. So what we had to do initially is, based on the QAS standards, is do an evaluation of that software and determine whether or not it is a major or minor revision. And basically what we determined is that it was just a minor revision. So we did do a, performance check for those. And that's the software testing that we did.
Is that something that you're going to put on your document for review when you have your external, or is it?
Yes, so that's already staged as well to be reviewed as part of the external.
Okay.
And when they do the external, they will most likely, obviously will note that as part of their external documentation in the appendices for the external version.
Okay. That's all I had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Thank you,
This
Tom.
is
Thank you.
Jennifer Smith. I have a question on the database one. I think on page 18, looks like 6.3.2 may not have been filled out. Did the competency testing for a new technician include a practical component?
Oh, yeah. Could you repeat that for me, please? I'm just looking at the document now.
Yeah, sorry, it's page 18, 6.3.2.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Oh.
this is a general comment. I had trouble reading the comment sections. Some of
Yeah.
the font was large, so, and I wasn't sure if it was my version or not. So that's just an observation.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for pointing that out. We'll make sure to update that. And secondly, I do agree that the comment sections for the new audit document is somewhat problematic. With the rolling screen window, when you have a fair amount to enter into it, obviously you have to scroll through everything to look at that. And then if we want to actually, it becomes more difficult if we want to kind of lock down the audit document. So I do agree that that's somewhat problematic, and I was planning on reaching out to the FBI just to see if that can be improved in any way.
Yeah, I totally empathize because a lot of it is redundant. So again, I just want to let you know. Thanks.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anything else, Dr. Smith?
I think those were the major ones. And then I had the same questions that Allison asked. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions for the New York State Police?
Hi, this is Catherine Gettings. I have a question for Russ on the casework one.
Yes.
What, you know, in hindsight, what could have been done differently for the proficiency testing schedule? You know, what's the corrective action for that? It seems like you kind of did the best you could in that circumstance. So what could you do differently?
Yeah, I think this was just an issue of not realizing that this person had taken something so close to the end of the year in 2020. And so it was just kind of an oversight. I think the intent was to try to make sure that she would still stay proficient even when she got back. So, but yes, we had that marked down now that we need to check all this every time.
But you did too many tests, right? Not too few. So what you should have done is not have her take the test before she went out on leave and then have her test when she got back. But then you would have been more than 6 months, right? Or more than.
Yeah. Well, she actually.
You had a problem regardless.
Yeah, she didn't take too many. It was just that
Yeah.
within, you know, she took 2 in 2020. She'll be taking 2 in 2021. It's just a spacing from the end of 2020 to the beginning of 2021 should have been a minimum of 4 months. And it was how she was originally scheduled, but once we moved her up, then it was only 2 months. That was the oversight.
Okay, but she's never going to go too long without a test, right?
No, now she'll be within 8 months. She's scheduled in the second half of 2021 to take the next one. So that was fine. It was just trying to accommodate so that she would not go out of proficiency and then have to take a comp test or whatever to get back online when she came back.
Right. So I guess that's what the FBI would say you should have done. Let her proficiency lapse and then competency test her when she came back.
Or not. Yes. I mean, essentially. But they realized, I guess we were not the only lab that had these issues. The guidance document wasn't clear on that, and she did say that they were making changes to that particular standard in the guidance document to make it clear about the 4 months interval.
Right, because it's meant to make sure that you're not doing them too close, so then you end up having too long of a gap later on. But if you move someone to an entirely different schedule, it doesn't seem like it should be penalized for having them too close when you're moving them up in schedule, kind of.
Right, and so it was a kind of live and learn situation where, even though we scheduled things appropriately, when you make changes, you got to take that in consideration between the 2 calendar years.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Were there any other questions for New York State Police? All right, well, thank you, and thank you both for joining the call. All right, so we're moving on to Suffolk County. So effective May 24th, 2021, Donald Dollar will serve as acting chief, and Connie Dinkle will serve as acting assistant chief. Ms. Dinkle will also continue to function as a quality manager. Ms. Dinkle is available. Any comments on these changes at Suffolk County? So I guess congratulations to Connie Dinkle and good luck. So we're moving on. Westchester County, ANAB conducted a surveillance activity in April 2021. There were no findings, and the laboratory remains in compliance with their accreditation standards. The next activity will be a reassessment in April 2022. Any comments about Westchester County Division of Forensic Science? Okay, thank you. Moving on to Onondaga County Center for Forensic Science, we have a letter containing management changes. Renee, is it Renee or Rani, sorry, Ho has been named laboratory director effective July 20, 2021, and Kathleen Hum will resume her role as QA manager. So congratulations to Renee.
Oh, that might have been late.
I didn't, yes.
Okay.
Okay, any comments on that? Someone's trying to speak. Okay. All right, so thank you and congratulations. So moving on to back to old business now, as finishes the Prime Lab report. So partial match update. Dr. Dooley, do we have an update on the partial match program, please?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. For the partial match program, there are no changes. Still 93 names requested. No changes since the last meeting.
Then I lost you. 93 names requested, and then what?
No changes since the last meeting.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Comments on that? Thank you. And then Dr. Dooley, how about an update on the familial search program, please?
For the familial search program, we have 48 applications in total that we've received. That includes 8 resubmissions and 2 renewals. Of those 48, 33 have been approved, 13 have been rejected, 2 withdrawn. Of the 33 that have been approved, there are 10 that are in queue or in process. 1 training is pending, which will be scheduled in the next couple of weeks. And there are 22 trainings that have been completed.
Not sure I quite understand that. The 23 searches, were they primarily for training purposes? Is that what I understand?
So 22 searches have been completed. We've conducted the training and we've given them the results letters in those.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Dr. Dooley on the familial searching? All right, thank you. So do we have an update from the State DNA Index System, ESTIS, regarding potential pertinent CODIS bulletins, and Tom Leach is available. So if Tom or Dr. Dooley, is there an update from CODIS bulletins?
Yes. Good morning. This is Tom Leach.
Hey, Tom.
I do not have any updates in regards to CODIS bulletins that would relate to any quality issues.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Tom? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so on the new business, we have received communication. Someone's trying to talk. No, we have communication concerning the DNA Mixture Foundation report that was published by NIST in June of this year. This document is open for public comment at the moment, I guess, through August the 9th. This is obviously important work. I've looked at the document. It's massive. Will need a lot of digestion, I think. But it may be premature for us to discuss it at this point. While it's open for public comment, of course, members are free to make their own personal comments directly to NIST. I'm not sure we're in a position to take an official action as a committee, but I welcome any comments about this issue.
The deadline, Dr. Weir, has been extended a few weeks according to directive we just received in the last day or so that people have more time to submit ideas and comments on the draft.
Do you recall the new date, Fred?
I believe it's August 23rd.
So only a 2-week delay, right? That's still some time.
I can tell you that other bodies are writing combined responses from that, like Food Dam is, and AFCOD is writing a response from those organizations. That's helpful to know.
Thank you.
I'm working on a response that's now about 30 pages long, and we're planning to submit that in the next few days. And I think NIST will probably distribute any comments it receives on the draft. And
that's my understanding.
Yeah.
So Fred, that's comments from you and your colleagues.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Any other comments?
I'm just wondering if, this is Allison Eastman, if maybe this could be put back on the agenda for the next meeting, maybe if anybody has had time to read the comments and think about the document. And it looks like ESR has a response that is so massive that it was going to take like an hour to download it on my internet. So I'm going to need a lot of time to review some stuff.
I think that's Akina, do you want to say something? Okay, so I think we could certainly discuss it in the future. It's not clear what the appropriate timing would be when we'll be meeting again in November. It's not clear that actions will be completed by NIST, so maybe that's a reason to discuss it in November, or maybe we should wait till it's the document that's accepted, that's in place. Not quite sure the best procedure, but certainly if we wish to discuss it, we may. It's not really clear to me what our standing will be. But if we are, go ahead, Dr. Lily, the difference.
Sorry, this is Catherine Gettings. I'm wondering, is our role as the subcommittee, maybe it would come from the commission for us to give them a response on it. Yes. You know, if it's going to be likely used as something to challenge cases in New York, then is it something that we need to respond as in having reviewed validation for New York or looking at specific issues in New York that might arise because of this? Then that would seem to be our role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dr. Dooley, maybe you could remind us what is our standing for subcommittee initiated discussions and actions?
Well, your authority, your authority, I mean, it's limited. I mean, it's in statute. If there are any areas that the commission may want you to look into, they will, you know, submit their request. So we don't know if anything that they want you to do until they meet, which is December.
That's not quite.
Then again, we don't know when this is going to be completed.
Wasn't quite my question, though. I think I've got the tenor of your remarks. So is it the case that we cannot initiate any discussions on a topic like this?
You can have discussions, but there's no, I mean, you can't really, as a group, you can't, you know, have any actions on it.
So we could not, so this committee cannot issue a public document, for example.
Correct. At least not right now.
And does it create any potential conflicts that some of us on this DNA subcommittee are on our own submitting comments and suggestions for revisions to the draft? Does that by itself present a requirement for anyone like myself to abstain from any action by the DNA subcommittee, since my comments and my teams are intended to be helpful and constructive, but they are, I can tell you, they are critical.
If your comments are in conflict with your duties here with the committee, then I would abstain from any further discussions on the matter here or any voting with the committee.
Well, how would I know if they're in conflict?
Is it going to, I mean, is it going against the committee? Like I don't know what your comments are. I'll have to read your comments. I don't know. Until then, I can't really say whether or not they are.
It's not going against the committee since the committee hasn't done anything.
I think, Dr. Beaver, I think what you're, let me see if I can help. I think you're addressing the situation. If the commission asked us to formulate a response to this NIST report, and in the process of doing that response, that could potentially put you in conflict. I'm not sure that it would, but I think maybe that's your question.
Yes.
It seems to me, I think we're certainly entitled to discuss it. I don't feel prepared to discuss this massive document today, but certainly we can entertain some discussion. I think it's part of our self-education process. But until we get I understand from Dr. Dooley, absent a directive from the commission, we're not in a position to formulate an official response. I think that's my understanding. It's still not completely clear if the subcommittee is entitled or allowed to discuss the issue and express directly to the commission their concerns or their approval, one way or the other. That would seem, I think it strikes me that the communications should be allowed to go both ways. Is that incorrect? Am I right? So maybe I'll ask Dr. Dooley and Natasha just for a little clarification. Not particularly on this item, for any item concerning forensic science with implications in New York State, does this committee have the ability to discuss an issue and maybe even prepare a document and then approach the commission expressing concerns or approval with the document and asking for guidance?
I don't see an issue with you going to the commission, but they also have a procedure of how they like to receive requests. I'm trying to look at their bylaws now.
Well, I would hope that there is a procedure by which we may approach the commission.
I would certainly think that we could mention that this is an important area and we think the commission should be aware of it and might ask for an official view.
Well, I think Fred Bieber here, Mr. Chairman, I think this situation creates an awkward moment for the labs in New York State. While I applaud John Butler and the NIST team for producing this draft interim statement, and circulating it to the community, which in the idea of openness is great. And this is fairly common in the social sciences to put working papers up on blogs and so on, so other colleagues in the community can have input. The awkwardness here is that this draft interim document, which is now being used as exhibits in the court system in real time. And I think that puts the labs in an awkward situation themselves for preparing for Daubert or Fry hearings when the dust hasn't really settled. NIST hasn't had the opportunity to receive the well-intentioned comments from the community and to digest them and to reassess whether their draft will change over the coming weeks or months. But in the meantime, the cases are criminal cases are going forward where this draft is being proffered as in motions in limine in the court system. And so I think there is a sense of urgency here. And therefore, I think this subcommittee has an important role to play in being helpful to the forensic community in New York State. That's all I'll say.
But let me just float an idea. I think I share the concerns and the interest, of course. I think I would like to consider your guidance about the committee approaching the commission, pointing out that this is an important issue affecting forensic science in New York State, and inviting the commission to direct us to prepare a response for the commission's use. Is that the tenor of what I'm hearing, Dr. Smith?
Yes, I would support that. I really also found some of the information a little troubling because there's an entire table of people that are named, and they kind of take the stance of they may or may not endorse this, and some of the individuals on that table actually work in New York. So I think it's important for our subcommittee to have at least a conversation about it where I'm fascinated to hear what Dr. Beaver and his colleagues have to say, where people can bring forth these issues. So, and then I support going to the committee and saying this is something we should comment on. So however we can do that, that would be great.
Thank you. I think, Dr. Gittins, you're probably in an awkward position, so we won't ask you to respond. Has anybody else got a comment?
Do we need to respond as a committee, or can each individual person in the committee respond? I would think that our role would be to take that document after it's finalized and look at how it applies to New York State and advise the laboratories from that standpoint.
I think that's getting back to Dr. Dooley's comment that we can certainly do that on direction of the commission. It's a little hard to us to do it directly, bypassing the commission. I think that's my understanding.
It would be awkward, Mr. Chairman, for us to have to comment on each and every draft, assuming that there might be more than one draft of the NIST document.
Yes.
So in one sense, if they could assemble the comments and ideas that they received in the coming weeks and integrate them hopefully quickly into whatever revision they deem appropriate, then we, the editorial, we could consider the finalized document rather than interim drafts and comments from this or that group, which we might not all have available.
I think I feel that we have a responsibility, because based on our expertise, to be fully aware of the report and its ramifications. So I would really like to get make the commission aware of this report and express to them our desire to investigate it and seek guidance. I think I interrupted someone. Someone's
Yeah,
gone.
I
Go
just want to say, from a practical point of view, if the laboratories are now being faced with this dilemma, and this document is out, and this committee has experts on it that certainly have, and their opinions are of value, those opinions, through a fulsome discussion, could also be utilized by the laboratories in support of whatever activities they are currently doing. To wait for a finalized document, especially if the document itself, it's not going to include all the comments. You know, let's be real. These types of documents go out, they go out as they are, and often the comments and the controversy surrounding them do not follow because it's very difficult to publish those. So I think it's up to us as a subcommittee who has many different missions. But certainly I believe that because of the lab director's dilemma right now, that if this committee has and owes it to ourselves, at least, to have a fulsome discussion of the good and bad of a document such as this. Because it's, I think the point now that Dr. Bieber made, if it is out and getting into courts, it's now a real issue for the labs. So I would really encourage us to review it and have a discussion at our next meeting. So I hope that we're able to do that.
I believe we can do that anyway. I would like to press it to go a little further and inform the commission that we are that we plan to do this, and we'll seek guidance. We'll seek their guidance on next steps. Dr. Dooley.
I think Bruce, putting because of Open Records Act, putting together and formulating a document from our committee may logistically be very difficult also to respond back, where each individual can respond back to NIST or groups outside, people if they wanted to collaborate with others outside of this committee. But I think once we send it or do something formal from the subcommittee based on the Open Records Act, that becomes much more logistically challenging.
Thank you. That's a good point. I still think we'd be remiss if we didn't offer our guidance to the commission, because I think they're going to be, if the report ends up, I don't know, I haven't read the report in sufficient detail. If the report has implications for the state labs, the commission needs to be aware and of the implications for making any changes to policy. And I think they should expect our guidance. I think that would be,
I would expect they would ask for it, right? I don't know if, like, as some of you are saying, we're in this in-between time, right, where it's a draft, and I don't know if there's anything we can do in this in-between time to just reinforce the fact that this is a draft, and it seems really unfair to try and be using this already when it's a draft that is expected to change. But I don't know that there's anything we can do in this interim time. You know, this may be a period of several months, you know.
I think
Or more,
right. But I'm very concerned about the timing. I don't want to do nothing until November, and then have to seek guidance from the commission. So I'm going to press you to consider us formulating a request to the commission, saying that we're aware of this issue has potential implications for the state crime labs, and that we seek their guidance on next steps.
Dr. Weir?
Yes, please.
This item is already on the agenda for the next commission meeting, but unless you have like specific questions that you want to present, just let you know that it already is on the agenda, so they're aware of it, or they will be aware of it. Is there like particular questions that you want to present to them, or?
I'd be very disappointed if the commission met and didn't ask for our guidance at their next meeting. I think that, but I can't imagine that would happen if the committee is going to have any function as a committee of experts. So I think.
And Bruce,
yes.
Oh, sorry, Bruce. I'm not opposing that in any way.
Sure.
I asking us to think twice about submitting something as a committee back to NIST.
No, I'm
When we
not.
can
I'm
do
not.
this.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think we're a long way from that,
Okay.
but I don't want this to fall off the radar. I want to.
No.
I would like
And
the commission to be aware of our interest and our willingness to provide guidance to them. And I want that process
Correct.
to go forward now, so that, I mean, if the commission said no butt out, that it's fine. But I think if, when they next meet to consider this discussion, if they knew that we were poised, ready to start reading and thinking and discussing, I think they'd be grateful.
When, excuse me, this is Ken. When does the commission meet next?
Natasha.
September?
When
End of
is the next-
September.
September 17th?
17th.
Yes, 17th.
So the commission will meet before our next meeting.
Yes.
Yes, and shortly after the comment period has ended. However, given the volume of comments I am speculating that they will receive, I'm not quite certain NIST will even have an opportunity to make a formal response to all the comments by the commission meeting in September. So again, I'm speculating, I don't know. I just know of the volume of the responses that have already been put out there.
Jill, Fred Bieber here. Have you heard from any of the labs in New York State? Are we embellishing the potential concerns, or are they real at the ground level in the New York State labs?
I believe they're real at the ground level. There has been outreach.
Mhm. Well, the document has implications beyond the borders of New York State. I can tell you that I was on the phone yesterday and with colleagues in Canada, and several labs in Canada are using PG, as you may know. And I won't speak for my Canadian colleagues, but they may be providing input as well from their vantage point to Dr. Butler.
Well, I've expressed my thoughts. Does anybody have a motion they'd like to move, or we can just move on?
This Ken, I'll make a motion that we send a letter to the commission stating that we feel this issue is an important one and deserves examination by this commission, by this subcommittee. And we would like the commission to give us a request that we provide an evaluation and inform them of our opinion.
Instead of maybe before I King, just a slight suggestion. Maybe I like the first part of it, and then say that the committee would welcome a directive to instead of asking them to do something.
Fine.
Okay. Do I have a second for this motion, which I understand it is that I forget what the words will be, but the NIST report on mixed foundations is an important issue, which will have broad implications for forensic science, and this committee would be receptive to a request from the commission to examine the matter further.
Fred Bieber seconds Dr. Kidd's motion.
Thank you, Fred. Discussion on this motion.
This is Catherine Getting. So as you said, Bruce, I'm in an awkward position, but I feel like it's like, I'll try to navigate that. And when we get to a point where I feel like I can't participate, then I'll
Sure.
make that call. But at this point, I would like to
Sure.
continue to participate in the conversation. If that's okay.
Sure. Sorry, I didn't want to put you on the spot. Okay, so we have a motion, which is I think it's an appropriate one, saying that we recognise the issue and that we are poised collectively as a committee to consider the issue probably in November and provide our advice to the Commission. And it may very well be premature to make any strong recommendations in November. Almost certainly will be, but at least we'll start the process. Discussion on the motion. All right, let me put the motion to the vote. So my vote is aye. Dr. Beaver.
Frederick Bieber, aye.
Thank you. Dr. Eastman.
Allison Eastman, aye.
Thank you. Dr. Gettings.
Catherine Gettings, aye.
Thank you. Dr. Kidd.
Ken Kidd, aye.
Dr. Souza.
Amanda Souza, aye.
And Dr. Smith, will you be voting?
I have to abstain, but I
Okay.
support it.
You can't have it both ways. So the vote was 6 votes for and 1 abstention. So the motion carries. So Dr. Dooley, I hope you can help us translate these ideas into appropriate language. I'll be happy to work with you on that. So thank you all. I think that was very helpful. So where are we? New York State Crime Lab has sent us a letter closure of a non-conformance issue. The laboratory has completed its root cause analysis into a non-conformance regarding a serology reporting issue. This was originally discussed at the May Subcommittee meeting. An update was made to the reporting procedure, and the laboratory considers the event closed. Do we have any discussion or questions about this issue?
I have a question.
Please.
Allison Eastman.
Go ahead. And I think, do we have someone from the New York State Police on the line?
Russ Gettings is here.
Thank you, Ross. Go ahead, Dr. Eastman.
Hi, Russ, it's Allison again. I'm
Hi.
curious about your retest procedure. Could you give me an idea what that is?
You mean the evaluation of the results?
You have you state that as part of your corrective action, an update was made to the biological science casework retest procedure.
Right. That we just wanted to emphasize more that the supervisor doing the administrative review at the end that does the comparison between the original and the retest, has to make sure before they approve it that they correlate. Okay, that they're identical. We've never had a situation like this before. Obviously, with our new LIM system, as soon as you approve a report, it's automatically sent out. So that was emphasized, okay, in the procedure again. And we also had a meeting with the supervisors and reiterated that, look, you need to make sure before you approve anything that these two results are concordant.
And is all the documentation and the retest documentation, is that included in the case file and part of discovery, provided for discovery?
Yeah, it is part. It's sent to the QA office. The QA office handles all the ending, all the documentation to show that there was correlation, they were identical. So the QA office has those. And I'm assuming they're part of discovery, but I'm not absolutely sure.
If there isn't correlation, would that be included in the case file as well? Or, what happened with this particular case?
Well, we had to go back and issue an amended report. And all the documentation that you have, it was a corrective action with, root cause analysis. There was actually 2 events. One was the identification of one sperm in something that the original analyst had said there were no sperm. And then the second thing was that the comparison showed that there was a discrepancy, but the report was inadvertently, I guess, approved, which meant it went out. So we've addressed all of those issues in the corrective action.
And what did this court, what was the fate of the case, I guess?
Well, it's a widescreen case, so it really doesn't depend, the processing doesn't depend on whether a sperm is seen or not. It has to do with the amount of DNA that's there. So the quantitation of that sample didn't have enough DNA for it to proceed to amplification or CE runs. So it didn't have any impact at all on the DNA results.
But on the case, it can have a big impact. It's the difference between seeing a sperm and not seeing a sperm. Your widescreen doesn't test for the presence of seminal fluid, and the presence of male DNA doesn't imply that it's from a sexual encounter.
Right. You're correct, but that's why we issued an amended report. And it did have that the sperm was identified in that sample.
Had the case been adjudicated?
No. In fact, I don't think there was any DNA results at all. Those another sample, that had no DNA either as far as the results.
All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you then. So moving on to the Suffolk County Crime Lab. This is an update for a non-conformance involving the failure of a technical review process. The subcommittee reviewed the initial notification in its May meeting. The laboratory is now in the monitoring phase. Connie Dinkle and Helen Wong are available if anybody's got questions. Suffolk County.
Hi, this is Catherine Gettings. I would like to talk to them if we can get them.
Sure. Could you help us, Jackie, get them on the phone?
Hi, this is Helen Wong, the technical leader for the DNA biology section. I don't know if you guys could hear me.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Hi, Helen. This is Catherine. So the corrective action is really thorough. I think you guys made a very strong effort to review a lot of additional case files. And so in that review, it seems like there are a lot of other things that might have been missed. And so I kind of wanted to understand your process for administrative review. I don't see that mentioned in here, and it seems like that might be something, if it was a separate administrative review, that might help you. So have you guys thought about that, or what do you do right now for administrative review?
So for administrative review right now, we do have our contract employees as well as personnel that are not DNA analysts doing it. And a lot of these issues may have, I guess the transcriptional issues may have been caught, but most of it is part of the technical review process. So we did add a second technical review to look at the DNA results for any quantitation results as well as mixture results, so an extra pair of eyes could see it.
Okay. Yeah, I think there were disposition of evidence issues, like missing statements about disposition, or times when an item was submitted but not reflected in the report, things like that. I would think would be addressed in administrative review. So just something to think about that could have been covered in the corrective action potentially.
Yes,
and then,
sorry,
go ahead.
We have looked at maybe giving the administrative reviewers like more to do to maybe like check to make sure every sample has been accounted for. We have talked about it, but we've lost two of our we're going to lose two of our administrative reviewers. So eventually we might only be down to 2 admin reviewers, and we felt like this responsibility might just be too much.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't realize that wasn't something that was already done. And in my experience, that was part of the administrative review. And then the other thing that I want to mention is this part under, let's see, I'm on our page number 44, where you have possible root cause and possible solution. And you have a number 5, not all analysts have their own computers, and that you've resubmitted a request for every analyst to have their own computer. And I just want to say that it seems really unacceptable to me that each analyst does not have their own computer for writing reports. If you're, on top of everything else, if if they're jockeying for time on a computer to write their reports, that seems unacceptable, for what it's worth, for one of us to say that.
Thank you. We do agree. We've been trying very hard.
Okay. So is the root cause to that a budget issue?
It is. And it's beyond what our section could do.
This is Connie, the quality manager for the crime lab. We have actually some paperwork in right now trying to get this moved along, but it's actually beyond the crime lab itself. It's a county IT/budget issue. So we're working with IT right now to get this rectified, and it's a very slow process.
Any follow-up, Dr. Giddings?
No, that's it. Thank you. Thank you both.
I have a quick question. Don't go away yet. This is Allison Eastman. On staffing, so you're short staff, and can you get funding to have contract employees or some way to address number 7?
We currently are trying to look for one position. We have one position open for a DNA analyst, and we are in the process of interviewing. Contract employees also cannot interpret DNA results in a laboratory.
So number 7 is number of staff. When you say staffing, is it number of staff, training of staff?
Number of staff.
Inadequate. Have you compared your staffing levels in your lab? I know if you're short on staffing, this might be hard, but the number of and types of cases compared number and types of cases against your staffing levels and compare that to other laboratories?
We have.
And what were your findings?
That we need more staffing. We have talked about this with management, and they are trying to help us get more people, get more positions open.
And it seems like that you're trying very hard, it seems, to do what you can with the resources that you have, but at some point when you're in a situation where like perhaps you need to recognize when you cannot meet certain deadlines, or you cannot get enough cases out, and that sometimes is the thing that helps you get more staffing, right, when things do slow down.
Yes.
I thought that if you try so hard and everybody stretched so thin, these types of things or other things will happen in the laboratory, right?
Thank you for acknowledging that.
Actually, this is Allison Eastman again. One more question. Do you have people who specifically do tech reviews only?
We don't. All of us, all the 8 DNA analysts that are here in the laboratory have multiple other tasks to do. So I am the DNA technical leader. I am also doing casework as well as technical reviews. One of the analysts is the casework CODIS administrator. She also does full casework and technical reviews. Quality assurance monitor also does that, as well as casework and technical reviews. So we all kind of do it all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Further questions? Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for joining on the call. So we have a next item on the, excuse me. We have our next item on the agenda is an executive session. So I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss matters relating to a current investigation or matters that may lead to the appointment, promotion, demotion, discipline, or suspension of a particular person. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved, Catherine Getting.
Thank you. Do I have a second for that? Thank
Second,
you.
Amanda Souza.
Thanks. So I'll go around the roll. Vote, get your vote. My vote is aye. Dr. Beaver.
Frederick Bieber, aye.
Thank you. Dr. Eastman.
Allison Eastman, aye.
Thank you. Dr. Gettings.
Catherine Gettings, aye.
Thank you. Dr. Kidd.
Ken Kidd, aye.
Dr. Souza.
Amanda Souza, aye.
And Dr. Smith, are you abstaining?
Yes,
Thank you.
I abstain.
So the motion carries. So if you're at this point, if you're not a subcommittee member or staff, you will be expelled from the virtual meeting and streamlining will be paused. The stream will resume when the executive session has ended. Thank you.
All set.
All right,
Back
thank
on
you.
YouTube as well, Jackie? We're streaming live on YouTube as well?
I believe so, yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're back in session. The subcommittee took no actions in the executive session. So we're moving to the last item, the next meeting date and location. I gather the location's not set. Is that right, Dr. Dooley? But we assume it'll be in person as far as we know. Is that right?
It will be in person or some hybrid thereof where locations are posted. So yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the next meeting will be November the 5th, 2021. So thank you all for taking part today. Good to see you all. So at this point, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? I have a motion from Dr. Souza.
Amanda Souza, motion to adjourn.
And seconder for the motion.
This is Ken, I'll second.
Dr. Kidd, thank you. So let's proceed to vote. My vote is aye to adjourn. Dr. Beaver.
Frederick Beaver, aye.
Thank you. Dr. Eastman.
Allison Eastman, aye.
Thank you. Dr. Gettings.
Catherine Gettings, aye.
Thank you. Dr. Kidd.
Ken Kidd, aye.
Thank you. Dr. Smith, abstaining, I imagine. And
Jennifer Smith, abstaining.
Thank you. And Dr. Souza.
Amanda Souza, aye.
Thank you. So the motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you all. Good to see you.
Thank you. Stay safe out there.
Thank you.